Thanks for tuning in to Born to Ride Television. This week we have a very special program as we pay tribute to the late Bob Fletcher. Bob was a pioneer in the motorcycle industry, and his world-renowned business, Fletcher's Harley-Davidson of Clearwater, Florida, has enabled motorcyclists to enjoy all of the outstanding products, service, and history Harley-Davidson has to offer. With the help of the Fletcher family's prized photo archives, Born to Ride Television has assembled rare footage and interviews of Mr. Fletcher, highlighting his life with his lovely wife Lucille, his children, and of course, his lifelong association with Harley-Davidson. In his early days, Mr. Fletcher was an accomplished motorcycle racer, competing on flat tracks and even participating in the famous bike races right on Daytona Beach. As he got older, his passion for riding never waned, and he still owned and rode his beloved motorcycles whenever he had the chance. So tonight we celebrate the life and times of Bob Fletcher, an icon and true legend of the Harley-Davidson motorcycle industry. And it's all coming up right now, right here, only on Born to Ride.
Hey, I'm Steven Tyler from Aerosmith. You're watching Born to Ride TV. Oh, yeah.
Born to Ride caught up with Bob Fletcher and his beautiful wife Lucille at the 40th anniversary of Fletcher's Harley-Davidson of Clearwater.
Just hard work. And a lot of loyal customers, friends. And I wouldn't have it any other way. I took her for a ride one day.
Yeah.
And her dad saw us on the main street of this little town we lived in, and he says, "You get off of that thing." he made her get off.
I didn't mind very well, though. You're riding.
Later on, I got him on it.
I bet he was happy after that, right?
Yeah.
What was the bike he rode, you think? Can you remember?
It was a 1929 Harley JD.
Tell me a little bit about that picture.
Well, the Shriners, I was doing all their maintenance work, and I sold them the bikes. And they would come in, like, this must have been a Saturday. They would come in and want stuff done. And I always kind of gave them priority because they had to ride in parades, things like that. So I'd make sure that their bikes were ready for the parade and so forth. There's a station wagon. And
1949 Mercury.
Yeah, a 1949 Mercury station wagon. At the dealership I had in Illinois, and I call it Bob's Harley-Davidson. And that was my shop vehicle. And I was racing at the time, and I used that to go to the races, tow a trailer and everything. And I kept that thing a long time. In fact, I brought it to Florida with me. And finally, the wood rotted off of it.
Tell me a little bit about that picture there.
Okay,
with the palm tree.
I got together with a bunch of guys and when I was still in Illinois, and we rode down for Bike Week, and that's the group I rode with. And we knew a fellow that was living in Miami, so we went down to visit him. So we just parked in front of where he lived and took this picture. And we all rode our bikes from Chicago to Miami. And on the way back, we got as far as Indiana, and it started to snow. And we couldn't ride in the snow, so we had to store the bikes and take the train home. We were all members of the same club. It was called the State Line Riders up in Illinois. And this little town we're in here is called Capron. And we were on a run, and we all sat on the curb there to rest up from the run.
What does racing mean to you, Bob, when you think back at the racing? What does it mean to you now?
Well, it meant a lot, really. I enjoyed it, and I just wish I could do it again.
A lot of people don't know that you're riding, you're still riding and active today, right?
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about that ride to Milwaukee.
Well, I had a brand new Road King, and I rode with the Hog chapter. And we took off out of here, and a sad thing was we had a woman with us that had her own bike, and we got to Indianapolis, and somebody stole her motorcycle overnight.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and so she doubled up with another guy and went on to Milwaukee because she had a room up there and everything. So I got up to Milwaukee, and the hog chapter, due to the scarcity of rooms, they were staying in Delavan, Wisconsin, which was 40 miles away. But Harley got me a room right downtown Milwaukee. Well, what was bad was I couldn't get together with these guys. It was so crowded. It just was almost impossible to meet up with anyone. And our road captain was riding back from Delavan to Milwaukee, and he got in an accident, and he passed away from that accident.
How many miles a day do you think you're putting on?
Well, it took us 3 days to come back, so we were making a little over 400 miles a day. The bikes never used to be very dependable, you know. We'd work on them all weekend, right on the weekend, but it's really changed. That was a surprise birthday party, a total surprise, and somebody stole that little mini bike, and I didn't know it, but they found another one to replace it with, and I'm sitting on that little mini bike there, and it was a party that I'll never forget.
My dad bought his first Harley in 1964 from Fletcher's Harley-Davidson. He said they treated him like family. Over the years, Dad and I went to Fletcher's often for parts and service, accessories, and motor clothes, and sometimes just to visit. So it seemed only natural that I would buy my first bike from friends that treated me like family. Dad taught me that all Harley-Davidsons are created equal. It's where you buy them that makes a difference. Fletcher's Harley-Davidson, Clearwater.
All right, Bob, you took us back into the service department, but where are we right now?
This is my stall. This is my little work area.
Okay. We're showing us the bikes. We looked at those. But now what struck my attention is some of these really unique-looking trophies. It seems today all the trophies are all generic and they look the same. But, you know, trophies like this, and there's a lot up here I'm sure we'll show them. But where did you acquire a lot of these trophies?
I got a lot of them drag racing. I used to drag race twice a week, and I got a lot of them at Sunshine and at Oldsmar Drag Strip.
And when you're drag racing, what kind of bikes were you running at the time, and what year you think that was?
It was late 60s, and I had a Sportster that I tried to make as high performance as I could. There weren't very many parts available, and in order to get a slick to run, I had to take a regular motorcycle tire and have a cap put on it. It was the only way I could get a slick to run.
Give you better traction then.
Right, yeah.
Now, what other tricks did you have back then?
Well, I had to practically make my own carburetors because there wasn't any carburetor big enough available at the time to get the performance. So I took two carburetors and put them together.
And so that was legal back then?
Oh, yeah, it was legal. You could modify it just about any way you wanted. In fact, I stroked the engine and put a bigger bore in it and everything. And it started out as a 55 cubic inch engine, and I made it 74 cubic inches.
What other type of racing have you been involved in through the years?
Well, back in the 50s, I was involved in dirt track racing, flat track, and I managed to make expert in that. And I raced in Chicago and southern Wisconsin and at Daytona.
Was that on the track at Daytona, or did you ever get a chance to actually race on the beach?
I raced on the beach. In fact, I never got to race on the big track.
Now, you're also a veteran too, right?
Yes.
What branch of the service were you in?
I was in the Armored Force, the Army.
So that's tanks?
Yes, I drove a tank.
What kind of tank?
A Sherman.
Sherman tank was a pretty powerful tank at the time. Now, then you took off to go into the military, and then you came back to racing back in the 50s after the war?
Yes. But I raced mostly on flat tracks where people don't realize at the time we had no brakes. We weren't allowed to have any brakes at all. They made us take the brakes off of the bikes.
So without brakes, how'd you slow them down? With your feet or just going around and with the...
By sliding the bike. And you couldn't even shift gears. That was against the rules, just shift down. So you just had to slide the bike into a corner and slow it down that way.
Now, you talk about back in the 50s. I mean, did you have sponsorship back then by anybody who'd help you out?
No. No, I didn't. It was pretty hard going, too.
Let's talk about some of these trophies. Can you remember some of the special ones that maybe stand out and what track you got or maybe when it was?
That one big one up there, I got... I was in a drag race in a place called Half Day, Illinois. And it was called that because it was a half day's journey by horse and buggy from Chicago. And ironically, I had to run one of the Davidsons to win that thing. And I beat him. I could always win my class. I never had a problem winning my class.
Well, what do you have to say to any young kids out there watching right now thinking that they might want to get into racing?
Well, it's very expensive to get into racing, and you need a sponsor. You really do. You can't do it without a sponsor.
And have you seen any of these new kids on the import bikes doing the stunt riding? What do you think of those guys?
They're awesome. I've seen them, yes.
There's a lot of talent out there. Motorcycling has come a long way, and you've been there through it all, Bob. And it's a pleasure for you taking the time, bringing you back here to the work area, and I really appreciate it. And thanks again for being on Born to Ride today.
You're welcome.
For all those people that are all smartened up talking Kiz, Arnie, and K-Fizz, they know what's going on. What you gonna do when Born to Ride runs wild on you, brother?
Born to Ride Television caught up with Bob Fletcher during one of his famous old-time swap meets at Quaker Steak and Lube. The swap meet was one of Bob's favorite things to do, and he looked forward to each one as an opportunity to meet with as many friends and customers, and just to enjoy the camaraderie of the biker community.
When did you first start your swap meets back in the original shop?
Oh my gosh, it's back in about 64, something like that.
And back in those days, you just had, just like today, you got a bunch of old parts laying around. You had to get rid of them, take them out there and get a deal for people. And you were racing at the time too, weren't you?
No, I quit by that time.
Okay, so you're a famous racer, retired, and opened up a Harley-Davidson dealership. Oh, I beg to differ.
I was a racer, but never famous.
And I see here, this is the bike you rode in on today?
Yeah. I've got 3 other ones. I got a 85 FXR, and I've got a 2003 Screaming Eagle.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's the pretty one.
Milwaukee.
Oh my God, that's incredible.
100th anniversary.
Good for you.
And then I got another Road King, 98 Road King, that I put a sidecar on for my wife.
Well, here we are with Bob Fletcher at Quaker Steak and Lube on 49th Street. This is the first of the beginning of a series of old-time swap meets. There's not a lot of old-time out here right now, but it's going to get started. Bob's probably the oldest thing out here right now. How old are you, Bob?
83.
Well, I tell you, I said the quest today was going to be look for the oldest part we could find, and I didn't know if it was going to be vegetable, mineral, or material, so we found it.
Bob Fletcher, I mean, the guy's awesome. I mean, just some of the history that he's got. And I mean, most of the people that have been coming in here for years have known him for just as many years as he's been here, and he's just an awesome guy. He's great to work with. We have, sometimes in the evenings when he comes in, we have great conversations back here, just him and the mechanics and us and that, and the stories just keep rolling. I mean, the guy's just a great guy. Everybody here loves him and hope he can live forever.
Bob Fletcher is the kind of guy, the Harley rider that we all wish we could have been. that we all wish we could be, that we all want to be.
He's like a father to us all. He gives us advice on things we need to do and life in general, not just motorcycles. He's a great guy, and there's not many guys around in their 80s that ride strokers. He's one of them. He's a legend.
Yes, Bob Fletcher was a legend in his own time, a soldier, a sterling businessman, a loving father and husband, and a friend to all who met him. Mr. Fletcher was an icon who immersed himself in all things Harley-Davidson. Truly, here was a man that was born to ride.